NOS4A22, Chapter 13, Redeeming the Children, Hunting Henchmen. The phrase is known for big business bankruptcy. The three B's nobody wants to utter. In this case, the Order of the Leech was demolished. They weren't given a chance to file Chapter 13 since they were cut off at the head, both literally and figuratively. The evil Nosferatu spirit grew more and more restless as it felt its old followers of the long-gone ways being hunted down, like how the Source itself once hunted the children down with these very same kinds of henchmen. These many once lost souls in Millie's paradise were now rejoicing in their new strange bodies. The ghost of Victoria McQueen had become more powerful in death. She filled these souls with hope from her strong creative spirit, and they became energized as an army that was stronger than anything the world had ever seen. The world needed these children right now more than ever. All the long-gone people who cared about them smiled as ghostly spirits, giving their blessing from their hidden places, revealing themselves only through a brief open window in their cloud chambers that masked their existence until the end of time. Their place was imagined long ago by the Earth's first good strong creatives, who firstly learned to manifest imagined realms around the Earth. Now that everyone's minds were free of the old curse and the constant mind control was eliminated and taken from Aram, the shift happened to bring brighter days for the good souls left here. Aram the Leech had attained too much for any one man. He had learned far more than what even 10 men should be able to learn, considering all the dark wisdom Aram was able to masterfully cheat out of manipulating fate. The master manipulator Aram the Leech had left his lasting impression on the world as he wanted, and it clearly was long-lasting, but it wouldn't last forever. Now here are some accounts of the best times Vic had with these redeemed once-lost children who were found and saved by goodness. Now the goodness flowed through them, as their spirits harnessed the most powerful energy source there is, pure unadulterated love, in the form of an all-consuming fire that could not be quenched. All the evil that has harmed children must be consumed and erased from existence. Their job wouldn't be done until these henchmen would be removed, one by one. People who chose to continue these most vile crimes against the innocent lives of humanity were asking to die. By what they were doing to all those innocent children, it was like they were crying out to God saying, "Please kill me, I deserve to die." Yet this was the last thing these evil wastes of life wanted, or would ever actually do. The last thing anyone would ever see a henchman doing is crying out to God, especially asking to die. Henchmen wanted to live forever like their idols, the Nosferatu. Ghoul eaters stopped coming because these sick fucks learned to take children without killing them. These old Nosferatu henchmen tortured poor little kids who were already suffering in the worst, most terrible family and home life situations. Maybe it wasn't physical torture so much, as these evil people learned the hard way that any kind of violence against children meant death, sometimes by accident, so they stopped the chances of accidental death or any kind of physical torture that may cause it. The ghoul eaters became even more restless, even more so than the Nosferatu power source and essence itself. The ghoul eaters' only purpose was to erase the evil that caused them to exist and caused them to be. The torture these kidnapped children were enduring now in the times we call now consisted of things they had to see and hear from these people who, although they weren't Nosferatu, were perverted, real-life monstrous freaks like Bing Partridge. While being held captive, whether it be against their will or if the poor child had actually been tricked, the kids weren't subjected to anything they should have witnessed. No kid should see or hear anyone behaving the way these nasty people showed themselves. They wanted what the Nosferatu had so badly, it consumed their lives like the all-consuming fire that was about to erase these idiot henchmen, ironically. Since these independent ex-henchmen spread out like cockroaches to all the corners of the earth as they began running and hiding for the most part, Victoria McQueen used her mental powers to focus on seeing, which she never could really do before when she was held in darkness of the Nosferatu while she was alive. As a ghost, Vic began sitting within these black quartz crystals when she found herself. Before she left Millie's paradise, Vic did some deep meditation as soon as she entered those tears from Micaiah. Vic was taught by Janice and Maggie beforehand that she needed to properly see all reflections of herself so she could learn every aspect of what made up her spirit. By doing this, Vic would become a master of her true will and destiny. When Vic entered this inner manifested place, she was taken deeply inside, microscopically, until she arrived at the center of the crystal body that acted as the living spirit heart. This was more like a diamond with crystals inside, like icicles. Vic found all reflections of herself at once, immediately, because she imagined exactly what she was looking for, which was all of her true self, even the parts she never before could recognize. She saw every side of who she was as a person, and nothing surprised her at all. Everything made her laugh, every single detail of her character. She knew who she was. Things just came to the surface that she either forgot on purpose or just forgot by the ways of life. The important significance of this was that Victoria McQueen was made cheerful. She entered her soul's heart of hearts and was fully at peace with herself. Any sense of anything else could not be recognized in her spirit's vision of herself because there was nothing else to see. She lived a hard life that was rarest of rare, and she damn well knew it. Not because of her upbringing, but because of the supernatural cosmic evil that came from both the depths of the earth and the dark blackness of space. It was neither here nor there, but moved to and fro constantly. These are the secret ways of the evil dark energy that makes real vampires, the Nosferatu. In this moment of reflection, the children rejoiced together, young and old, who were trying out their new black quartz crystal tear bodies. Vic became strengthened all the more through the joy of the children. Then, once Vic had achieved the highest level of enlightenment from her own soul, the Noble 12 came to her and gave her their knives that were made from the fangs of the Old Ones, the failed demonic vampires who were too obvious from the age before Aram. As each good old strong creative ghost came to Vic with their knives, they came and placed it in her mouth of the peculiar suit she was just inhabited. 6 on bottom, 6 on top. The handles were perfectly screwed into the slots that were already there magically, it seemed. This was all manifested by Janice and Maggie, along with each of the 12 good doers. When the last fang knife was placed in the mouth of Vic's suit, the head lit up with a blue light inside that had a mix of purples and grays. Everyone shouted in celebration, and their joy reverberated through their protected paradise. In these moments, if the Nosferatu would have come to attack, they never would have stood a chance. The only reason they ever would stand a chance to rebuild and dominate once again was because of the division. This made the Nosferatu stronger in guerrilla warfare, while it weakened not the good doers themselves, but it weakened their chances statistically to stay strong as their potential showed them to be. This is how the Order of the Leech was able to cheat life and death for so long, far too long. In this ritual, Janus's 12 noble ghosts crowned Victoria McQueen their leader to lead the brigade and the march towards perfect justice, as she was ordained by the pure positive energy itself that defeats all evil to do so. No evil can stand a chance against the force that was with them unless destruction from lies could tear their own world apart. This thankfully is recognized by them all, and so, although they would have to go out amongst the world in different directions, they had one good thing going for them as a new ace in the hole, which were many aces. Along with the 12, as they went out to every continent they could, where they knew approximately where each of these ex-henchmen ran off to, 1,000,000 found souls came with them, and they were set as righteous soldiers, ordained by the good energy of the cosmos and of the earth to utterly decimate the old followers of the old ways of the Nosferatu. In another time, Vilmus Chanda utterly destroyed his own spirit by igniting and spreading himself through the attack he made on that hidden legion of Nosferatu followers. He was pulled back in time by the reversal of the curse that had been lifted from that very spirit he selflessly sacrificed for the sake of all good on this earth. Father Time recognized this, and so his spirit was rewarded by the ancient elders in their secret place, which really was a heavenly paradise that was imagined and manifested long ago by those first strong creatives. With them secretly watching over them, Vic and the noble army could not fail, unless they themselves brought on their own demise. There were too many good strong creatives and good innocent found souls for that to happen. Each and every one of the good doers, as they all adopted the phrase, recited words of protection by making the words come to life by their imaginative power. We are one. We carry the power of the sun. When the day is done and we've had our fun, we rest our heads knowing good has been done. And this gave their spirits rejuvenation of pure positive power to protect them all from evil dismantling and to strengthen their already strong creative abilities. The brightness of the pure positive energy thrived in them wherever they went. The presence that was polar opposite of the Nosferatu had no names other than what it stood for: love, goodness. These things that all good loving people just know to be real because it is their lives. Love or confusion, may this be love. These were the Jimi Hendrix songs in order that played back to back for Alice and Fran as they went on their separate journey, aside from everyone else who was under the pure positive light together in the northeast area of the United States. First, when Love or Confusion played, as soon as it came on the radio, Fran asked Abbas if what he felt was love or confusion. "So, is this song speaking to you?" Fran asked firstly. "Yeah, I mean no." Abbas unknowingly sounded like he was joking, as he was actually confused by her vague question that he didn't know the extent of or intent of the loaded question. "Very funny, comedian. Are you feeling love or confusion?" Fran spelled it out for him, as she knew that obviously was what she was going to have to do. "Both," Abbas answered honestly, and she thought he was just trying to be clever until the next song came on, and he said, May this be love. There. That was manifested if you really want to know. Don't lie to me, she said when she knew that something evil was seeking her to question Abbas, to put doubt into his already broken mind, barely strengthening through those endless attacks he alone now has suffered for longer than anyone else left alive from the age now past of the Order of the Leech. Don't accuse me. Show me love, Abbas declared, and she no longer spoke as they went to go find Bing Partridge, who was thought to be long dead and rotted away. They knew otherwise. The sick bastard never could be reformed. He was a lost cause that crossed the line long ago that someone can never turn back from once they go that far. That would be too far for anyone, no matter who you are. Nobody can be redeemed after committing the evil acts and deeds that the sick old Bing Partridge committed in his selfish, deranged life. He was as deranged as the worst henchman, comparable to Ed Gain if he was a wussy. Old Bing was a wuss. He even knew it. Bing operated like a weasel, and a dirty, rotten one at that. Worst of the worst. Dirty, rotten imbeciles would even be offended. Fran and Abbas wouldn't be gaining access anytime soon once they got there because they had a lot of obstacles in their way as soon as they got close to the facility that housed Bing Partridge. Carlos and the little girl called Death weren't too close yet once Abbas and Fran got there. Something else was happening that no one expected on any side of the NOS4A22 or not. There were many darkly imagined evil passageways that harbored the remnants of the old ones that time forgot, of the children of the failed NOS4A22. So, there were many obstacles of physical threats due to these hidden monstrously visceral NOS4A22 children of the night. They were brooding in hateful wrath because their cause was primarily driven to do one thing, and that was to feed on the blood of the innocent, like any real monster was commanded by the devilishly evil powers of cosmic darkness to do. Between these unnamed evil ones and the hidden spaces where they were left to rot, many of the repaired access ways that Aram the Leech had made for the beasts evaporated along with Aram himself, because he never bothered or even cared at all to pay them any mind. These beasts were half NOS4A22 of old, mixed with long-gone henchmen, and turned NOS4A22 children. All the remnants of NOS4A22 were more dangerous because they had an unhealthy mix of good and bad within them that did not agree with each other. The ferocity that brewed within their boiling blood made them fierce, unnamed creatures that would surprise the world once they realized that their realms had been partially exposed. So this was the other danger that proved to be the other component to the obstacles between Fran, Abbas, and Bing Partridge. Carlos and the little girl who was death itself were the missing magic out of the equation. Once all would unite in the first meeting, then some rather peculiar things would be occurring. Fran and Abbas, if free of the NOS4A22, would have been wonderful people if they ever were given the chance, but this was not their lot in life. They were good people that had been infected by evil. Same could be said about Carlos and the little girl who had become death herself. Life is funny like that, as good people are broken so much by their chances in life through time, they turn into dangerous people to both good and bad people. They call it a product of society because the evil powers that be are not in the business of life because their business is death. The ones running things are in the death business. This is because of that most evil and naturally dark force that is the power source of the NOS4A22. With all the explanations of evil, it is time to speak of the fun stuff. We shall leave you with the happy thoughts to lay your head down to and dream of, instead of this obnoxious evil that lingers like the death it causes to horrifying effect. The good doers got to have their fun in the sun, and they enjoyed every second of their time in the sun, even if it were nighttime. And the term used here is simply a figure of speech. You get it. Revenge is sweet when the karmic forces are swinging in the favor of what is good and right and true. Before Vic ever got any reports on how the others were doing, they went on a long first mission. This is Victoria McQueen's first account of their first mission, to kill the evil ex-henchmen who were still destroying lives. These words were penned by her advanced abilities as a good spirit ghost we've obtained for our records. We got to the place where Bing Partridge was at, but everything was different. Lots of big changes that were a real mindfuck. The building I saw next to the facility wasn't there before. That was normal, I thought at first. Then I realized the actual facility was a completely different style of building. I expected to see a wider building I had remembered that was not built like this short skyscraper style, that was much taller than the place I was expecting. Something was terribly wrong. The place could not be the same place where Bing was put, or was it? Vic recalled all the weird occurrences she experienced while she was alive, being put through the ringer by old Charlie Manx. Something so disturbing happened that she blocked it out and went on her mission. An old primered Crown Vic cruised by at a speed that was probably 10 miles slower than it should have been through that main street, and she saw that the driver looked eerily like old Bing. She knew this couldn't be. It must have been a trick of the mind. Then she realized that she was dead, a ghost, and that simply could not be. She was forced to go on with her mission without telling anyone what she saw, or thought she saw. All the while, her thoughts within her spirit troubled her. Victoria McQueen's account was mostly thorough, other than these details we obtained. We got to the place and went inside anyway. This was a facility where the patients were sex offenders with children. Most of them committed other crimes on top of this most sickening human condition. We learned that the employees were NOS4A22 Order of the Leech, and that they were running a place that was not how it was supposed to be. These most vile criminals, whom there was no hope or chance for rehabilitation, had been catered to so that they could be groomed into henchmen specifically for Aram and the Order of the Leech. Vic opened the doors of the place that was now run by none other than Bing Partridge himself. He had been given by an unknown source the briefcase with the files Charlie Manx had originally found that one fateful night a century ago. I led our army straight into the main doors and immediately felt something was off. No one was in the lobby. All of a sudden, the lights went off and red lights came on, with the sprinklers going off like crazy. That was their first and last mistake, since they had no idea who they were fighting. The ex-henchmen tried to fight, but didn't know about our conducted and distributed energy within our black quartz crystal tier bodies. Soon as the water hit their new bodies, their spirits sensed what to do. All those found children in Vic's army were ready even more than she was. Their good spirit energy went through the water and up through the system to quickly travel to each and every corner to find where these evil people hid. They shouldn't have done that, turning the lights out and turning on the red lights only. Along with that water they rained down on us. It didn't end well with them, and didn't even start well with them. They all got cooked like we were at a southern fried cook-off gone wrong. Terribly wrong for them, but it felt so right for us. The only problem with that was it wasn't as gratifying as any of us wanted it to be. That soon would be changed after the building crumbled to the ground. Bing Partridge drove back to the scene and stopped to say a disturbing thing to Vic for all the found children to hear. The old primer Crown Victoria Bing drove was obviously a blatant mindfuck, purposely for her, personally and specifically for her to notice. "How do you like my car?" "Not so much, huh, Vic? Hey, thanks for doing my dirty work. Those people were too sick for me. I'm just fine on my own, by the way. Do you guys want a ticket to Christmasland? I'm on my way one way." "Aw, don't be mad, Vic. I want to make Wayne happy forever." And those were the last words they would hear from Bing that night, because every black quartz crystal tear body that was near that car began pummeling down on the car until it was both crushed and ripped apart by the full power of their capability. When they were all done, as Vic lifted the hood and removed it with a toss like she was throwing a frisbee, she saw her worst fear come to life. It wasn't because she found Bing Partridge alive, because he simply was not there. Bing had vanished to the place that Vic knew he invented again, and never wanted to think of such a thing happening ever again. Bing came back to haunt her with Christmasland, even as a ghost. Now, you didn't think the world was run by good people, did you? The powers that be are not good, but don't like to associate with evil either, even though some classify us as evil generally. We will never mention our name either, because there is a division here between good and evil that has always existed, since the beginning of time until the end. Most often throughout the ages, there is an imbalance that gets offset back and forth with the tides of time. Just be rest assured that evil ultimately serves good always, no matter the abundance of evil acts and deeds. For it is the good ones, like Vic, and the millions of good doers who make life worth anything, even if most are vengeful ghosts. At least their cause is righteous.